Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Mitch over at IndySoft. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic week so far. This week for Tip Tuesday, I wanted to share with you all a tip that I think probably leans a little bit more towards our commercial calibration customers. However, there is a use case as well for some of our manufacturers or enterprise customers that are constantly onboarding new facilities or locations. So this tip is actually going to be utilizing the IS import or the IndySoft import utility in combination with utilizing our templates. So in a commercial cal lab scenario, we all know the importance of utilizing the equipment templates. However, we also have the challenge of we're constantly onboarding and acquiring new customers. So we need to be able to import in equipment lists from Excel to get your database mass created. But what we want to do is we want to take that Excel list and then connect those assets to an appropriate template. So if I go over to our admin wheel here, you're going to see we have our templates. We know that already in the system. I'll just go ahead and open up Template Editor as well. And I'll show you what I've done because I have pre-staged some data to give you an idea of this. But if we were to go in and look for our templates, we of course have our template name column here. So you'll see here, if I were to go navigate down to one, you'll see I've got my various different Fluke templates. But there's a Fluke 5520, and you can always do quick copies and paste. That's kind of the feature or the shortcut that I like to do. But what I really want to do is now I'm going to go over to our text file import tool, also known as IS import. Now you do have to be a system administrator to use this utility, so we're going to ask you to put in your credentials here. But once we get logged into the IS import or the text file import tool, you're going to see the various different categories of how you can import in data into the system. One of those is this equipment information section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit next here. Now, before I go do all of this, let me actually just go pull up an Excel sheet that I created already. Okay, so I did this already. Let's say we got a brand new customer, and they have provided us, a list of assets, and then so in my case, test company 2, and then I've got a list of about 12 different assets. Now, what you need to do though is you need to have a column in here called template name. And most of you already know you can import in data, make, model, description, schedule. You can actually have as many different columns as you really may need. However, to make this actually work and connect the asset to the template all at the same import, what we need is this column here called template name to be populated with the name of the template that we want to pull data in from. So this kind of goes back to, and I had that open down here, Template Editor. Let's say I take this and I'll just do a quick Control C, and let's go over to my Excel sheet. Let's say that item 1012 actually was a 5520. Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring that in. Now, when we're doing IS import, we actually always need you to save this file as either a CSV or a text file. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to save that, and we're going to say MJ Test Lab 2. And you'll see here for your save options, you can either do a CSV or you can actually do just a text tab delimited. Either option is fine. I'll do text tab delimited today, and I'll put this on my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to conveniently save this file here on my desktop. I'm going to say save. So now I really don't need my Excel sheet, but the concept of this is the customer sends you an Excel file. You then go and clean up or manipulate that file, and you simply need to add a column called the template name. And then, like I've done in my example here, I've populated column C with the template name that comes from my database, okay, or from my system. So I no longer need the Excel sheet, really don't need Template Editor. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And we've already got the text file import wizard open here, okay? So what we do here is we're simply going to go and select it. In my case, it was a tab delimited file. The first line of my import actually had a header as well, so I'm going to go and toggle that as true. And then I just want to go navigate to that file. Now it is important to note here, you need to make sure you don't have that file open. In other words, it will kind of reject it because then two systems are trying to actually use the same file at one time. But in my case, here's my MJ Test Lab 2 import. So I've specified the file, specified that it's a text tab delimited. I've got my first line checked for a header. Depending on if you're doing dates and due dates, there's some settings in here for the date structure as well that you can utilize. But then the next step is going to be, we're going to hit next, and then we're going to go in here, we're going to choose the fields that we want to import in. Now, if you've ever used this tool before, you'll know that it actually retains whatever values you had last time. So in my case, I did do a test before creating this video. So I've got company ID and template name. You can also preview this. So I can see here my company column is going to go to the company field in the database. There's how many characters I have. ID is going to ID, and then template name is going to template name. You can even preview and take a look at this as well. Okay. So if we're finished with this and we're ready to actually execute the import. Now, before I actually hit the execute the import button, if there was another column of data in here, you can always add that in. So let's say we want to use cert template. We can just add that in. If you don't need it, you just get rid of it. Also a little shortcut that I like to utilize. Let's say I was looking for a particular field name. Let's say manufacturer. You can actually, come in and you can just type in M and it'll toggle right down to that area. So just little shortcuts for you. But let's say we're ready to import in those 3 columns of data, including the template name. That's the big one. So when I hit finish, we're going to get prompted with a series of prompts here, right? One of those is going to be, this is an admin only tool. So we're going to tell you probably should have done a backup before you do this. Just a warning there. We're also going to let you know that, hey, what if this record already exists in your database actually? Do you want us to update it or ignore that line? In my case, I know these records don't exist, so I'm going to say yes to that. And then the last pop-up that we're going to give you is, if you don't declare a company name in that column structure, it doesn't really know where to put the assets. So we just put it into a default company if you don't actually declare that in your import file. In my case, it's okay. I've got that declared. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit the finish button and let that actually import. This was only about 11 or 12 records. However, some of those records had 100 test points or so, especially those fluke meters that I had in there. But my import was completed successfully. I had no warnings. So when we select OK, what we're going to see is if we close out of the admin section of the software, I'm going to go pull up item MJ test or company MJ test lab 2. You're going to see here, there's those 12 assets. If we drill into that, you're going to see there's those assets that we just imported in. And if we were to pull up one of those, it doesn't really make any difference which one. What we're going to see is those assets in my import file, I only had the company and the ID and the template name. But because I declared that template name, all of my linked fields from the template itself get automatically brought in. So make, model, description, my procedure. Most importantly and most time consuming is going to be your test points, which this asset actually didn't have test points. So let me pull up one other asset that does. We'll pull the torque wrench, and you're going to notice those test points came from my actual template. So any fields that you have set up as linked at the template level are going to automatically come into the asset itself, including charges, potentially, including your test points, procedures, make, model, nomenclature, all of that. Any field you declare as being a linked field in that import file, or excuse me, at that template level, will get set up and associated when you run this import routine. So I hope this helps. I know that commercial cow labs are in the constant business of creating new customers and loading in data from Excel. So I definitely think this can help you expedite that process, and then most importantly, help you expedite that process, but get those assets connected to templates, which is super, super important for the use of the software. I hope you all have a fantastic day and a fantastic week. As always, if you have any questions on this tip, please don't hesitate to contact myself or our technical support team, and we'll all talk to you very soon. Thank you.